Hey, JulesBlessedVegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So people, I was sharing an article yesterday comparing sugar and alcohol, and it's actually ethanol, which of course becomes alcohol in the body, and that comes from corn, which creates corn syrup and all those lovely things. And the biggest villain of all, it turns out, is fructose, which is derived from fruit sugar, right? But it's very tricky. The way that it performs in the body is the same as alcohol, and the comparisons are unbelievable. So please look for that first video, and this is the second. Again, I will include the article in the description of the video, and it's the amazing similarities between toxic sugar and alcohol, and that toxic sugar being fructose. So yesterday it talked about the three major similarities to alcohol. And then it was fructose versus alcohol, the dangerous metabolic cascade. And a cascade is like a waterfall, how it just trickles on down. And then fructose in terms of the metabolism and how the metabolism is affected. And finally, the health effects of too much fructose, which mirror those to alcohol. And that's worth repeating in this one in case you don't look at the other one. And what it said was for chronic ethanol consumption, so constantly drinking, and chronic fructose consumption, so getting all of that in your food, they both had hypertension, both had dyslipidemia, both had pancreatitis, both had obesity, both had hepatic, which is liver dysfunction. And okay, so they both totally have all of those. And then the other two are just slightly different, but they're in the same situation. So one for alcohol was cardiomyopathy, which is the weakening of the heart muscle that allows it to beat. Fetal alcohol syndrome, so baby being born already addicted to alcohol. And plain old addiction. And then the partner to that in terms of fructose was myocardial infarction, which again is affecting the heart. Fetal insulin resistance, already having a resistance to being able to process insulin in the body. And habituation, which means habit forming, if not addiction. Wow, 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 right? Wow. Okay, so where we were in the article was fructose buzzes the brain like other narcotics, right? Because when they say, can you really be addicted to sugar? Like, come on. Apparently, yeah. So it says fructose and ethanol both have immediate narcotic effects associated with their dopaminergic properties, so the dopamine receptor of the brain. In the same way that alcohol can lead to the downward spiral of compulsive overconsumption, fructose tends to generate an insatiable and intense sensation of pleasurable sweetness, often driving us to consume far more than our body can handle. Again, there's no triggers going off saying you've had enough. Even while it damages multiple organ systems, some Americans consume over a pound of the substance a day, seemingly incapable of recognizing how, in exchange for its narcotic-like effects, it dramatically reduces both the quality and quantity of the human lifespan. It is just, isn't it so tragic? So tragic. And yet, how many times in my life when people said, that's going to kill you, Juliana, I felt incapable of not going in that direction. Like, you aren't ready till you're ready. Oh, okay. Perhaps there is a deeper biological reason behind the devastating fructose fixation. Indeed, in addition to fructose dopamine modulating activity, there appears to be a fructose opiate connection, who can believe, embedded deeply within the mammalian biology, and which has been the subject of scientific investigation since the late 80s. A study published in the European Journal of Pharmacology in 1988 found that both glucose, again, that's something that can be used by all the cells and burns easily, and fructose, only channeled through the liver, were capable of antagonizing morphine-induced pain-killing effects, likely due to the direct opioid effects of these sugars or their metabolic byproducts on the central nervous system 3. In fact, the researchers found that fructose was more potent than glucose in accomplishing these effects. Wow. Could fructose addiction, therefore, be even stronger than alcohol? I say yes. I was able to get past alcohol. For those who are on the fence about this issue and still consume large amounts daily, perhaps the best way to find out is trying to remove it entirely and seeing if you go through withdrawal symptoms. That's a yes. At first physically, of course, but then always mentally, right? Anyway, yeah, amazing. There's something in there that I was thinking about. Dopamine, I get all of that. There was some comment I was going to make. All right. And like we say, cancer and sugar, right? So here we go. Cancer Group asks U.S. to study sugary drinks and obesity. The American Cancer Society's advocacy affiliate has asked the U.S. Surgeon General to complete an unbiased and comprehensive report on the impact of sugar-sweetened beverages. Soda, which is loaded with sugar primarily in the form of high fructose corn syrup. Around 100 years ago, the average American consumed a mere 15 grams of fructose a day, primarily in the form of fruit. Beautiful. That's how it should be. 100 years later, 1/4 of Americans are consuming more than 135 grams per day, largely in the form of sodas. Fructose consumed at this dose, our ancestors did, about 15 grams a day, appears to be harmless unless you suffer from high uric acid levels. However, at nearly 5 times that amount, which is what the average American consumes, it becomes a major contributor to obesity and nearly all chronic degenerative diseases. Instead of consisting of 55% fructose and 45% glucose, many soda brands, including Coke, Pepsi, and Sprite, contain as much as 65% fructose and nearly 20% higher than originally believed. Shame on them, right? According to one study, the mean fructose content of all 23 sodas tested was 59%, higher than claimed by the industry, and several major brands contained HFCS, which is high fructose corn syrup, at 65% fructose. When you consider that Americans drink up to 57 gallons of soda per year, this difference in actual fructose content could make a huge difference in someone's health. Absolutely. 57 gallons a year. I'm just trying to calculate that. How much is in a 2-liter? Okay, it's a lot. Either way, the call for an unbiased look into what these drinks are really doing to public health is long overdue, especially considering the research that's already being conducted. And this was some of the findings. So, Boston Children's Hospital did a study on the effects of sugar-sweetened drinks on obesity in children and found that for each additional serving of sugar-sweetened drink, both body mass index and odds of obesity increased. Fizzy Drink Study in Christchurch, England found when soda machines were removed from schools for 1 year, obesity was reduced, of course. In the schools where the machines were removed, in the schools where the machines were removed, the obesity stayed constant. In schools where soda machines remained, the obesity rates just continued to rise. In a 2009 study, 16 volunteers were fed a controlled diet, including high levels of fructose. I don't think for any amount of money I would want to risk that. Though let's be fair, I've exceeded it on my own, but you know what I mean. 10 weeks later, the volunteers had produced new fat cells around their hearts. Are you getting that? The body created new fat cells around their hearts, livers, and other digestive organs. In addition, their insulin levels increased and insulin sensitivity decreased, which suggests a link to diabetes. A second group of volunteers who were fed a similar diet, but with glucose, replacing fructose, did not have these problems. So interesting, right? Fructose is also a likely culprit behind the millions of U.S. children struggling with non-alcoholic liver disease, which is caused by the pathological buildup of fat within the liver cells, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, this is God giving me clarity. He's like, Jules, kids are appealing. You love kids. They love you. That's the good part. Their parents need help. And this could be your message to the masses at schools, right? People don't want to hear it, but I might be charming enough to get the word out. Okay, got you, Father. How much fructose is too much? This is the great question. Of course, we know you don't need any sugar in your life other than natural, but let's see. When it comes to alcohol, I generally define moderate alcohol intake, which is allowed in the beginner phase of my nutrition plan, as a 5-ounce glass of wine. 5 ounce, a little bit less than a half a cup. A 12-ounce beer or 1 ounce of hard liquor with a meal per day. As you progress further, I do recommend eliminating all forms of alcohol. Totally. Yeah, another thing that's never necessary, alcohol. As for fructose, if you want to shed excess pounds and maintain healthy weight long term and radically reduce and in many ways virtually eliminate your risk of diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, then start getting serious about restricting your consumption of fructose to no more than 25 grams per day. If you're already overweight or have any of these diseases or at a high risk of any of them, then you're probably better off cutting that down to 10 to 15 grams a day. And I get it. People are on a varied diet, right? So there's a chance there'll be some, and if they're acutely aware, they might get a little. And some products, as we've seen, lie about how much is in there anyway. So unless you're totally going plant-based and only eating things that God created, right? Then you'll probably be subjected to some, but minimal is best. Fructose is a staple ingredient in the vast majority of sweetened beverages and processed foods of all kinds, from prepackaged meals to baked goods and condiments. So the easiest way to keep tabs on your fructose consumption is to ditch processed foods. Silent applause. From your diet whenever possible. In the event you want an occasional sweetener, do not resort to artificial sweeteners. Instead, I recommend the following. So I'm just reading this article in general. It doesn't mean that I recommend or live by this, but the first thing it recommends is the herb stevia, and says that the favorites are the liquid form that come in flavors like French vanilla and English toffee. But that's all chemicals and stuff. I mean, yes, stevia in itself is supposed to be all natural, but adding French vanilla and English toffee and all the nonsense, come on. Whatever. Okay, dextrose, which is actually pure glucose. Remember, glucose is used by all the cells in the body. Glucose can be used directly by every cell in your body. Is there an echo in the room? I was remembering that from yesterday. I'm glad they confirmed it. And as such is far safer than the metabolic poison. I love now they're being straight up. They started off gentle, but now they're calling it metabolic poison, fructose. And remember, switching to the following natural sweeteners will not, in capital N-O-T, will not eliminate any of the risks of fructose consumption, as they all contain high amounts of fructose. These are options. But in that understanding that you want to reduce it to as little as possible, you have to know that these contain fructose. Cane sugar, honey, date sugar, coconut sugar, brown rice syrup, fruit juice, molasses, maple syrup, succulent, sorghum, turbinado, agave syrup, and beet sugar. You know, because vegans will just be like, I'm good, I just have coconut sugar. Oh, I only use beet sugar, I'm totally pure. Oh man, I'm only into date sugar. You know, sugar. And here we go again, ready? Sugar, do. How could you not? Ah, honey, do. Maple syrup, agave too. We can do the whole thing, right? Anyway, it's trouble. Okay, so finally, what is the secret key that turns your fat switch on and off? Who doesn't want to know that? Humans are genetically programmed to seek energy-dense foods, which served us thousands of years ago when food was scarce. However, this is a maladaptive in today's environment of readily available, cheap, high-calorie, but nutritionally bankrupt foods. Let's say that again. Take it in, get ready. Humans are genetically programmed to seek energy-dense foods, which served us thousands of years ago when food was scarce. That means unavailable, hard to get. You had to be a nomad and track it. Okay. However, this is maladaptive in today's environment, meaning no longer applies and has been changed into this nonsense. There is readily available, cheap, high-calorie, nutritionally bankrupt foods. The standard American diet, thank you so much, has tripped your fat switch, as Dr. Johnson discusses in his new book. Contrary to popular belief, it's not the amount of calories and exercise that determine your weight. It is not the amount of calories and exercise that determine your weight. Once you understand how fructose-rich foods activate your body's fat switch, you can finally say goodbye to your nagging weight problems. Dun, 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 dun. I love that, but hey, I already have that. God was being very clear today. He was like, Juliana, in every way, shape, and form, I have given you the people who need to show you the way. For my whole life, I was looking back going, oh yeah, in kindergarten, first grade, oh yeah, remember in fifth, oh yeah, my seventh grade, ooh, ninth grade, oh yeah, when I was 16. Yes, you have, Father. What is your point? And then he's like, because I gave you the solution to all your ailments and have cleaned several for you. Hello, gone are your thyroid, gone are your, asthma, thyroid, kidneys, acid reflux, list. Got it, Father. What's your point? Because you're still carrying around that fat suit, my friend, and I gave you that answer too. It was high carb, low fat, raw vegan with low, though adequate amounts of, I'm channeling Danny Raw, with low, though adequate amounts of healthy plant-based fats. Yes. I gave you all the solution you needed, Jules. What are you doing with it? Oh, so you don't need all the game playing. Oh, so you don't have to read about gimmicks. Oh, so you don't have to keep researching other ways of, oh. Thanks a lot for shaming me in front of all my friends, Father. That's messed up. Yes, he gave me everything. Okay, am I going to get on with it? I got a plan. I got a plan, people. Right now, I got a plan. All right. I'll keep you posted. All right, if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. I'm glad I broke it up into 2 parts. This was not a long article, but the need to communicate and work through it was a long article. So I hope you catch part 1 from yesterday. And no matter what, I'm sure it's beneficial. Get off the fructose. That's the benefit right there. And understand that if you're being affected by alcohol, which is sugar to the body, get off the alcohol too. It's just a better way to live, right? I told people, I stopped going to the doctor. Years ago, I used to go saying, oh, I don't know what's wrong. Oh, you got to find the problem. And I continued to binge and consume all the nonsense and wanted them somehow to fix it. It's such a joke. So I promised myself that I would never ask a doctor to fix anything again if I knew secretly that I was the one causing the problem. Only if it's a valid problem. So I am no longer causing those problems, and I don't need doctors. Yes, I go and get a checkup. Be fair, I'm a teacher. I have some long-term things I have to keep an eye on, like the cancer I had, melanoma and things like that. But largely, I will never show up at doctors again when I know the backstory, right? Okay. If you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you. And until we talk again, best of all, know that I pray for you. Know that we have the answers. We just have to apply them. And therefore, we are blessed.